This is my day job, and you know, one of the most frequent questions I get asked is, oh, painting, don't you find that boring? Well, actually, now I've got into my 60s, no I don't, because I've had a fairly academic life, I would say, and it's nice to not have to think anymore. Painting white bathrooms, they're already white, and painting them white again, I don't mind. And particularly since I've had my cataract done, because I can actually see whether I painted it properly or not. We're back on the Genko Archer this week. Welcome to Raoul's house. Last week, when I was at work, you see, normally I carry my debit card with me in one of those little slots in my mobile phone case. And it hadn't occurred to me what a stupid thing that is to do. I'll tell you for why. Because what happens after a while is those little slots get loose. And obviously at some point during the day, while I was handling my phone, which is in a pink case, by the way. People say, why is your phone in a pink case? I said, so I can spot it. It's true enough. If you're up in the maintenance block or at home, I can never find the thing, so I've got a bright pink one. Pink was a boy's colour, you know, up until the Victorian times. It was pink for boys and blue for girls. They are a fact. Anyway, obviously my card had slipped out, and just as I was leaving for work, going to the car park, my phone went off to tell me that there'd been a transaction, and I thought, hang on, what's that? I'm not expecting anything to be paid. I'm on the ball. So I looked, and I could see that someone had spent £13.50 in a supermarket on the other side of Coventry. Whoa! Went straight into my Monzo app. I love Monzo, best bank account, much easier to get on with. And they haven't got a branch, but you know, they're great. I have no trouble with Monzo. Immediately go into the app, freeze my card. And just as well I did it, because another transaction popped up, declined for 20 quid. They'd obviously tried again in the same shop. And, well, they took £13.50, reported it as fraud on my app. Was pleasantly surprised they refunded it the same day from that shop, by the look of it. I don't know how it all works. Anyway, I got my money back. And I kind of thought, well, maybe it was my fault. But it's not. You don't expect these things. Certainly not your card to fall out your phone. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm keeping my cards in one of these things, which is RFID compliant, you know. So although it looks plastic, here's my metal detector. So it blocks your cards. That's the point. So there's my tip of the week. For goodness sake, don't carry your credit card with your phone, because if you lose your phone, you've lost your phone and your card, and you can't freeze it, you'd be ending up ringing up your bank. What a palaver that would be. So keep your cards and your phone separate. And it might be a bit inconvenient if you go out the shop and then think, oh, I didn't bring my thing with the cards. Well, you will after a bit, because you'll remember it. Take your phone and that. And I keep just a little bit of cash in that, perhaps 45 quid in cash. And, you know, keep my driving licence, cards, my Wingwar VIP card. Yeah, that's the Monzo card, bright pink, isn't it? There you go. My tip for the week. If you've got credit cards, keep them in an RFID wallet. They don't need to be expensive. These were $2.99, available in all colours. I say, just enough to keep a little bit of cash and all your cards. And keep them separate from your phone. Here's a little aside for you. You know, well, you've been looking at back glasses and thoroughly bored, probably. If you have to work on very tiny stuff, and everything's tiny now, isn't it, including the small print, I think deliberately so. But if you're trying to repair something that's small, you know, like a watch, or, well, maybe not a watch, but, you know, USB sockets, they're always coming off circuit boards, aren't they? You know, because you plug these cables in, you trip over the cable, or the kids do, and then it yanks on the socket, and eventually, you know, it rips the socket off the circuit board. Well, you can buy those little sockets in a strip. They're relatively cheap, but you try soldering one on, you're not going to be able to see it, are you? So what I recommend is get yourself one of these. This is an Ando star, and I don't think that bit matters. What matters is this bit. It's an AD106S USB microscope, and it's under 70 quid. You might even get one for about 50 quid if you shop around. Have a look on eBay or Amazon. I would highly recommend this. It also comes with 2 additional spotlights. I haven't got those turned on because frankly I don't need them, but if you zoomed in a long way you might. But let's have a look. Let's just move that under there, get it to a point where you can see it. Right, so they're the terminals on a chip, for instance. That one. So you got a bit of digital zoom on it. Now I could solder that, I can see that now, not a problem. But you're not going to do it without one of these. And as a bench tool, it's really useful. You don't need a hugely powerful microscope, because unless you're looking for germs, you know, you don't need it. But for repairs on very tiny things, this is a real bonus, this. So like I say, it comes with the lights. You can record as a video, whatever it is you're looking at, or as a photograph, because there's a little SD card in the slot at the back. And I'm just running this out of one of the USB sockets on my PC, so it's not drawing a huge amount. But I'd definitely recommend this. It's an AD106S. So if you are working on small stuff and struggling, get one of these. I tend to think that Wilko's slogan should be use us or lose us. An extremely good store saw Wilko, and I am mortified that they're going to go. I won't be the only customer who feels like that, and it's a bit like that. Well, not quite the same with Woolworths, because with Woolworths I tend to think they kind of deserved it really, because they weren't selling really what people wanted. They should have asked their customers. But Wilko's practically got everything. Now I've just spent £38 in Wilko today. Support Wilko, that's what I say. I don't think it will save the company. I don't think it's going to fold, and I think it's very sad, because what will happen is as these stores continue to close and people say, oh, I can just buy it online. Yes, you'll buy it online, and it will be coming from China, which is a dictatorship and a very aggressive country. And we'll be tied into it in the same way that the world was tied into Russian oil. You have to look further than your nose. And I'm not saying that products in Wilko don't come from China. I'm sure some of them do. But it's a huge difference now if you're also supporting local jobs. So when you buy things online, unless it's really essential, do think if you could buy it locally. And okay, you might pay 50p, you might pay £1 more. But you're maintaining someone else's job. Anyway, I was quite happy with these. Complete, only about, I think it was about £1.20 or £1.50. Complete range of pencils up to 6B. Got to be worth it for that, isn't it? Huge bag. I bought their large bag. You know, they do nuts and bolts. They only do sort of 8, 10 and... no, I think they do possibly 6, 8 and 10 mil bolts and nuts. Be nice if they did a bigger range, but they do. You just fill a bag. That's a large one for £3. That's a lot of nuts and bolts. I didn't have any small ones, so I thought before Wilko goes, because you know what it's like. If you want to go buy nuts and bolts, you go in one of these DIY stores and you'll pay about £4, and you'll end up with something like 10 nuts in a bag. Definitely worth going to Wilko for those. Just thought I'd mention that. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.